For a few minutes to see if somebody else.
Okay, Chair. Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to the September 12th, 2022 Academic Advisory Committee meeting at the school board. Calling the meeting to order at 5:45. In the interest of a quorum and to identify if we have a quorum or not, we are going to wait a few minutes and recess until we get a quorum at about 6 p.m. If there is no quorum, we will adjourn the meeting as such, if there is no objection in the room.
No objection.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I think that's the best thing to do because that counts as a meeting, and though it was no work done as a meeting, it counted as a meeting. We had a meeting. Versus canceling a meeting.
You came down to see me today? How can I help? How can I assist? How can I be of assistance?
I just, we had some things, there was a couple of things I wanted to go through. You actually wouldn't want.
Huh?
Well, I want to talk about the student progression, but I think you already met with him. About the student progression plan.
I better speed it up, because I'm bringing student progression to exec cabinet next
We're supposed to give you,
the 19th.
yeah, the 12th, you're bringing the 12th.
Because I'm having, the day is the 12th, my brother,
No, of October,
to the board
yeah.
for workshop. No, but I'm saying to executive cabinet.
Yeah, Lisa sent it to you, whoever.
Yeah, but we had some other
Who's
things.
doing it?
Good evening, everyone. This is Christine. I had to join by phone this time. So I'm under the 7476 number.
How many?
But, okay.
I saw the picture. You barely see that. Four.
And we have four, Sherelle, Rachel, Lori,
Is Rachel on? I thought that was Christine.
Christine. Well, Christine is on the phone.
Oh, I see Rachel. Rachel, sorry.
And Rachel, and then you have,
Corey.
so how many is that? You have the two in here. 1, 2, 3,
Corey.
4. So we have 6.
Is Laura on the call?
2, 3, 4, 5,
We
yes.
have 6.
I need 2 more.
But yeah, I think I scheduled a meeting, might be Thursday, and then reconvening to look at it one more time, because I'm limited to cabinet on the 19th, and then the next 2 days going to the division meetings.
Just have that one section.
I'm like doing it all. Because nobody see me. Just see Jesus.
Did you say?
I got Charlene.
Bertman?
Charlene, high school counselor. It's working, we just burning.
Melissa Patterson.
Oh, it ain't, so I gotta meet in the morning.
I said just to verify. Education work? How do you do that in speaker review? We already did that.
There we go.
Thank you.
I was like, I had some cards. I don't know what I did with them, but I had them.
Nice to meet you in person.
There's more.
What are we missing?
still at 6, I think.
Still at 6?
Six.
This is Laura. You submitted Laura Feldman.
Pharrell in state.edu.
Yeah, I see her.
Where do you see her?
Nika?
Hi, everyone.
Coleman? Dr.
So
Coleman?
there's Laura. She a member?
Yeah, she's on. She trying, is she reaching us?
No, no, no.
Okay. It's Dr. Coleman. Philman is in Dr. Coleman, I haven't heard from her.
Just Feldman.
She had said that she had responded.
Check my
to
phone.
Is Randy on the call? Reggie?
Reggie?
So I see that Charmaine's not on yet.
I'm in the room, Laura.
Oh, you are? Fantastic.
I was just seeing if Reggie or
Reggie is not on.
Reggie's not on. Yeah. Duras,
Is that on DVC?
I believe so.
For the children?
Mhm. She's the alternate for EDEC, but the main for here. 7 more minutes. We need one more?
Yes. Diane, do you want to do the roll, open your mic and do a roll call, see if we're missing anyone?
Did you shut me off? It's green. Do I just hit it?
It's green.
Okay, so good. Okay, I have Mr. Collins, Laura Feldman virtually, Rachel Frischberg virtually, Sherelle Golden virtually, Charmaine Postel in person, Corey Smith virtually, and Christine Tibbs via telephone.
Good evening.
Anyone else out there that's on that I have not accounted for? We need one more.
Can you do the roll of who's supposed to be here, if you don't mind?
Who's absent?
Myra Bazemore, Ms. Coleman Farrell,
I'm sorry. Can you do the agency?
Coalition for Black Student Achievement, Ms. Bazemore, Coleman Farrell, Palm Beach State College, Carlos Diaz, Hispanic Education Coalition, Reginald, it's AAA, Aidi and Axion Inc., Mary Evans, Tri-Cities, Randy Gabriel, ESC Advisory Council, Kristen Stern, School Board District 5, and that's it.
You said Kristen Stern?
Stern.
Thank you. All right, for those that are joined, the meeting was called to order at 5:45. We are recessing until 6 p.m. If a quorum is established by 6 p.m., we will proceed with the meeting. If a quorum is not established by 6 p.m., we would adjourn at 6 p.m.
Do you want me to text Nika? Please.
Black just coming up in November, now this coming up in February. Black
Did someone else join?
Can the caller that's on ending in 76, the last two digits 76, identify yourself?
Hi, that's Christine.
Okay,
Becky.
thank you, Christine. The caller ending in 47.
It's not the bridge.
Hi, Glenda. Dr. Coleman Farrell here.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for your patience and your time. It is 5:57. We will continue the meeting at 5:57 from a recess. At this time, there is no need to continue the roll call as as participants attend the meeting. We will collect their information for roll call purposes or attendance purposes. Approval of minutes from last month. The August minutes was distributed by staff member Diane Wood in previous emails.
You all have an extra copy? You have mine if you want. I don't need yours. It's fine, I can look online, it's just if you had an extra. I wanna take this, Kate. You need yours.
You can get another one.
Are you looking for a motion to?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Oh, can I have a minute? The minutes was approved as presented by Mr. Collins in the room. Do I have a second?
Second.
If someone can identify who that was, the second minutes?
Corey Smith, sorry.
Thank you. Minutes have been approved and second. Any objections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes approved as presented. Next item on the agenda is public comments. At this time, are there any public comments in the room or online? Hearing none in the room. Are there any online? Hearing none online, we'll move to the update from Chief Academic Office, Dr. Sheffield.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Madam Chair, we do not have a public speaker, but we do have a guest. Would you like to introduce the guest that is with us so that those that are joining us virtually will know the representative that we have joining us?
Absolutely. If the guest would certainly introduce herself, that would suffice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christine Sylvain. I am the founder and executive director of Path to College, a nonprofit that helps students from Title I schools get into the best colleges with the best scholarships they possibly can.
Pleasure to have you here, Ms. Sylvain, and we look forward in the future to hear more about your organization. Thank you for that. At this time, Chief Academic Office.
Thank you, Ms. Sylvain, again for joining us this evening. Again, good afternoon, everyone. I am going to expedite my updates because we do have with us Mr. Oswald. Melissa Patterson is joining us virtually, the director for Multicultural, along with her counterpart, Lisa Capra. And they're with us this evening to where at our last meeting, when we talked in regards to some of the work that we wanted to do this in future meetings, it was around the dual language programming, where those programmings are located, and the instructional pedagogy for the programs. So I'm excited to have Ms. Patterson and Mrs. Capra with us this afternoon, along with Mr. Oswald, to share with us as a district in regards to the progress that we are making. Of course, there's always rooms for continuous growth, and we take that challenge every day. And we're excited about the progress that are being made and looking forward to the continuation of the successes of our multi-language department. But before they come up, I do have a few updates. I just want to remind you of two big events that we have coming up. which I'm hoping that the, members of the committee will stop by and just support, our families. Starting with our college fair, our college and career fair, I'm really excited about that we're bringing back this year at the South Florida Fairgrounds. We're bringing it back on September the 28th. We've started our big campaign, pushing it out to all of our secondary students. Again, that's going to be on September the 28th. So if you have some time and you're wanting to stop by the South Florida Fairgrounds to just support our students and their families, and again, it's just not our colleges, universities, but we'll have the armed forces, we'll have some of our job forces, workforce developments, and so forth, and well as our apprenticeship program. Districts, some of our district teams will be there because we are still hiring bus drivers, we're still in need of substitutes, aftercare workers, and so forth. So we're just going to utilize this time to embrace our community. Another big event that we are planning for that's going to take place at the South Florida Fairground as well is our annual Showcase of Schools. We're bringing it back after I think it's a 2-3 year hiatus with COVID, and we're deciding that we're going to be bringing this back. So our Showcase of Schools is going to take place on October 18th at the fairgrounds as well. As an academic update, we are in the midst of our first round of our progress monitoring. This is the new state assessment in which they have replaced, FSA with. And our students, we have to complete within the first 30 days. So we'll be completing the first round of progress monitoring by the end of September. We're looking at the data. We know it's at the very beginning of the school year, but with any kind of assessment, we just make sure that we utilize the data to inform teaching and learning and create those systems and framework that's going to help us make some sound educational decisions for our students and some meaningful professional development for our teachers. And if, as we talked at our last meeting back in last month, Mr. Harris and Nolan, our library media manager, came on and we talked in regards to where we were as it pertains to our media centers, the policies that we were going to take to the boards on last Wednesday. Hopefully, all of you have had an opportunity to review the board workshop from last Wednesday, where we talked around those 3 policies that was impacting our media center, the books, classroom libraries, and so forth. Now, part of that, and as Mr. Harris went over with you, is there requires community buy-in, community input anytime we are making a purchase of books for our media centers. And as we are opening that up to our community stakeholders, we took it a step further to where we wanted to also make our Superintendent Academic Advisory Council, this group, a very strong component of reviewing any materials that may be recommended or with principals are looking to purchase in their library, in their media centers. And with that, an email will be sent out to all of our members. The members will be asked to look at the items that we're considering purchasing that came forth and provide any kind of feedback or recommendations that they may want to provide. So additional information will be coming with that. I do want you to know that now that we have gone to workshop, the next part will be development. Development will be coming in 30 days. I'll go back to the board with that. I think the board was very pleased with what I presented to them on last Wednesday. You can go back because, again, the meetings are recorded. So you can go back to our YouTube channel, our district webpage, and watch that, which is important because this group is going to be an integral part. So I just wanted to, again, just remind you of how your involvement, what kind of involvement, where it comes in as it pertains to your assistance around some of the new legislative updates. So for myself personally, as I said, I was going to keep my update brief because I know Keith and his team. I think we have quite an evening of some great information around our dual language programs. So, Madam Chair, that's my update for this moment in time, as I do want to yield some of the time to our visiting guests.
Thank you very much. At this time, if you would like to introduce the guests that will be speaking this evening, I think you alluded to them earlier, but if you would like to formally introduce them as they were speaking on the dual language program and discussion. Are there any questions at this time for the
Yes.
Chief Academic Office prior to moving forward.
Yes, Madam Chair.
You're recognized, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Hey, good evening, Ms. Sheffield. Just a quick question on the college fair. What time is that?
The college fair will take place starting at, it's going to be 5 to 8.
Okay. All right. I got a conflict. I really wanted to be there. Okay. And is it open to just students of Palm Beach County, or can it be like, say, a young adult?
It's students of Palm Beach County.
Okay. So if you graduated already, then it's not open to you.
No, it's not. Students
Thank
of
you.
Palm Beach County, yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Dr. Sheffield, what's the time on the showcase as well?
The showcase of schools, it's 4 to 8.
Any further questions for the Chief of Academic Office?
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, again, at this time, Mr. Oswald is going to tee us up. We have with us Ms. Melissa Patterson, the Director for Multicultural, along with her team member, Lisa Capara. They're going to take us through the awesome job that they're doing with their dual language programs. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Oswald and the team.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield, and good evening, everyone. It's good to be back. For a minute, if we didn't make quorum, I was going to start to think it's me every time I come back for special speaker, but I'm glad we were able to make quorum. So as we talk about education, affirming and inspiring our district's mission statement, an equity-embedded school system for every student, nothing speaks louder than that when it comes to our dual language programs. We're really recognizing the culture that many of our students bring, as well as trying to enrich those who may come born and raised here and being monolingual to speak another language. So very excited that the work that this team has done for the students here in Palm Beach County, really expanding our programming, as well as really helping our leaders grow. They've done some great training this past summer to really equip our leaders of these schools to be ready to hit the ground running. So I'm going to turn over to, and I know our director, Ms. Patterson, is online. I don't know if she wanted to say anything before I turn over to Ms. Capra.
There she is.
Did you want to say anything, or are you good?
I'm good. I do want to say, if nothing else, I do want to say thank you to Dr. Sheffield and to everyone involved to providing us an opportunity to talk about the dual language program, which we are very much so passionate about. It is a little awkward to be virtually in this manner, so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Lisa Capra, who is our champion for many, many years. So Lisa, take it away.
We're just doing a little chair maneuver
Musical
here.
chairs. Thank you so much for having me. It is my pleasure to be here. I have been part of the Palm Beach County School District for 32 years, and my passion has always been towards language, towards ELLs, towards allowing not just Ls, but everyone in our school system to have the opportunity to be bilingual and biliterate. So I bring you, and I bring you tonight, dual language programming in Palm Beach County. First of all, the most important thing to consider are the 3 pillars of dual language. Dual language teaches for bilingualism and biliteracy. Bilingualism is when children can speak and understand. Biliteracy is when they have all 4 domains, speaking, listening, reading, and writing in a target language other than English, along with their English. This program has proved over time, with all of the research behind it, along with all of the data that we gather here in Palm Beach County, that students perform as well, if not better, inside dual language programs. So the brain research, the national research across the United States is phenomenal, and we fall right into that research. Academic achievement is measured in both languages, and I brought some data tonight to show you that. And of course, cross-cultural competence is huge, another very strong pillar inside our dual language programs, as we have children from all cultures that come into our programs where culture is center to the language. Culture comes through the language that we are teaching in. So we are very proud of those pillars. These are not unique to Palm Beach County. These are pillars that most dual language programs across the nation have, own, and work towards. So I wanted to share with you a video, as we are extremely proud to introduce this year, after a whole year of planning, our first dual language Haitian Creole English program. I'm not quite sure how to get that to play. See if I can get the mouse. There it is. Beautiful, thank you. Rolling Green, along with our department, has worked really hard to start kindergarten in Haitian Creole and English. Down here, it's still loading. Give it 1 second.
But just while we're waiting for that to load, the amount of work that this has taken, traveling the nation to try to, oh, there we go. Let's play first.
Let's see. It's still thinking.
So the biggest obstacle and challenge when it comes to dual language programs, is it unmute?
Yes, I'm unmuting, but you can go ahead. I'll stop it until.
Is instructional materials that are authentic to the language that this team has really worked through to overcome.
And I do have some of that here in the presentation tonight to show you.
Only the second in the country. Students at one Boynton Beach Elementary School are participating in a dual language Haitian Creole program. The Palm Beach County School District has close to 10,000 Creole speaking students, and this is a new way to reach their community. WPTV education reporter Stephanie Susskind takes you inside this one-of-a-kind classroom.
When you walk in the front office of Rolling Green Elementary School, there are signs of Haiti everywhere, even this book right here. So with a more than 60% Haitian population at this school, it was a no-brainer to start the district's first Haitian Creole dual language program. From Creole to English.
That's the correct sound.
These are the only kindergartners in Florida learning their lessons in both languages.
Some of them, they heard the Creole, but they don't speak it.
In Patricia Michelle's classroom, it's Creole only. Lessons, the posters on the wall, and everything in between.
They've never been to Haiti. By me teaching that, and when we do culture, and I can taught them what the Haitian culture is all about.
This new dual language program is a nod to the strong Haitian community in the area, giving students the opportunity to learn in the language they hear at home.
The community has wanted something like this, so to be able to give back to them, I think that's one of the things that we're most proud about.
Across the hall, these students spend the other half of their day in Marquita Brown's class, learning English.
This is a way for us to affirm their language and culture, as well as to educate them in both English and Creole, inspire them to achieve success academically.
Jameson Stell helped the program come to fruition. He calls it a bridge for all students.
And they have the opportunity to feel that comfort in their home language, as well as that productive struggle in the second language that they're learning at the same time.
Principal Allison Manning says it's proving beneficial already.
A lot of the parents say before they weren't able to help their students at home, and now when they're coming home and they're trying to learn things in their native language, they can actually assist, and that's just a huge boost for the parents, and they're really excited.
Patricia hopes teaching in her native language helps inspire these young students for years to come.
I am praying that one day when this program is very successful, and I will see those kids that I taught this program in kindergarten, and now they're improving until high school. That's my goal.
Stephanie Susskind, WPTV, News Channel 5.
Well, the dual language program is only in kindergarten right now, but each year the school will add another grade level. A second elementary school will also begin the program next year with hopes of expanding to middle school and then high school.
Yes. So we are hard at work assisting with that. Let's see if I can find my presentation again. Thank you. Oop. Got it. Thank you so much. Some of the, I imagine that this presentation is going to be shared with you. There are a lot of live links in the presentation that you can click on so that you get to keep these documents. Oh, boy. Okay, so I'm going to explain a little bit about what those documents are, and I will make sure that you can get to them when we need to. So the Guiding Principles for Dual Language 3rd edition is kind of like our Dual Language Bible. It is, as you can see, it has 7 strands, and it kind of walks us through what an exemplary program looks like. So we have been using the Guiding Principles for Dual Language for many years. It's filled with research-based information. It also gives us a scale, as you can see there, that shows us from a minimal alignment of implementation all the way to exemplary. So it also helps us walk through the process of where are we individually at each school and where are we as a district. In all of those different strands. So for example, the program structure strand was a strand that we worked on with Rolling Green last year. Any school that's in planning year, we walk through the program structure, what are the needs of your school, the demographics of your school, what is that target language, and then we slowly move through what that's going to look like in curriculum, instruction, assessments, staff quality, how to get your family and community involved, and of course all of that support and resources that you're going to need to really implement with fidelity. At the top, that link will take you to the actual guiding principles for dual language. It's a free download, actually, if you'd like to explore it more in depth in the future. So we also have guidelines for each of our programs because as I tell the schools, there is a basic recipe for dual language, and then every school adds its own flavor. So every cake has its own recipe of flour and sugar, and then you can decide whether you want chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and things like that. So we run through the guiding principle, the guidelines for dual language, and these are just some of the descriptors. Oh boy, can't get into any of it. Okay, I will make sure that all of those links are up and running. I thought I did, but I will check. But these are a synopsis. Most of the programs all of the programs actually in Palm Beach County right now are two-way immersion programs. Two-way immersion talks to the fact that you have ELLs, you have speakers of that target language, and you have native English speakers mixed together, okay, so that all students are a language model during the day, okay, during part of that day. Most of our programs are 50-50, which means instructional time. Half the time is spent in the target language. The other half of the time of instruction is spent in English. Language arts, reading and writing, is a non-negotiable. Those two have to be taught in both languages, as children need to learn how to read and write and become truly bilingual and biliterate in both languages. So reading and writing is non-negotiable. We do leave it up to schools to choose the other content areas that they're going to instruct in that target language. And it's pretty even. Some of the schools teach math in Spanish or Haitian Creole, and some teach science. So we leave that up to the school. It's become a lot easier now that we've moved into a digital world where a lot of our resources are available online and in the target languages. For our secondary schools, at least 3 courses have to be taught in the partner language. So for our middle schools and high schools, they offer 3 periods in, right now, Spanish and 3 periods in English. Students who speak the partner language are able to go in, especially our ELLs as they arrive in our schools. They go right into dual language programs when space is available for them, as this is a recognized model for ESOL. And our teachers actually go through a language assessment. Of course, they have to be certified in the area of instruction, but they also go through a language proficiency assessment that we give up in multicultural to make sure that they're not only bilingual, but that they are biliterate and can keep the rigor inside our programs in all content areas. And lastly, of course, our native English speakers, research shows that after the 1st grade, they really should be a one-to-one decision to put native English-speaking children into the program. But that is a very wide generalization because there are children that are that adapt very easily to acquiring language. So as long as they can show some proficiency in the partner language, they are allowed in our programs after the 1st grade. And because we have to realize that inside dual language programs, it's not teaching Spanish or Haitian Creole as a world language. It's actually teaching content in another language. So as I said earlier, they teach science, they teach math, and they teach reading and writing. So it is important for them to have some proficiency as they come into the program. So I brought some data with you that I think is quite impressive. We have close to 9,000 students participating in dual language programs here in Palm Beach County as of yesterday. That number kind of creeps up every day a little more. We have 23 elementary schools, 1 K-8 school, 5 middle schools, and 3 high schools. And that link at the top here of this page actually gives you the list of schools and the grade levels that they are implementing the dual language program. Some of our schools have just started, as for example, Rolling Green, that's just in kindergarten. Some of our other schools are halfway through their implementation and are at the 3rd or 4th grade level. And some are, as you'll see by the list, are fully implemented, K-5, K-8, and so on. So
we're also working with some schools for the future as well.
Yes, we have,
which wouldn't be reflected here.
right. They're actually on the list.
Are they?
Yes, as a planning year.
Perfect.
Okay. I also wanted to share with you, oh, there you go. It's down at the bottom. You can't see it. This slide kind of didn't look like this when I did it. But down at the bottom, there's 2 schools down here that are in planning. Okay, 1 middle school and 1 more Haitian Creole English dual language school that we're working on this year with them. I did want to share with you all of the students that are inside our dual language program by ESOL status. We actually track L's inside our program, but we also track native English speakers, okay? Native English speakers are children that do not qualify for ESOL services. So as you can see out of that larger number, it's a great place for our L's, and these are active L's, the light blue. So there's 4,700 and change of active ELLs that are Spanish-speaking or Haitian Creole-speaking. Actually, the next slide is going to share a little more of what languages they speak. And you'll see that some of our children are in the 2-year monitoring, in the 3 to 4-year monitoring, and these that are fully exited. I will share with you that most of the data, actually all of the data that I'm going to continue sharing with you tonight, when we talk about L's, I take all of these into consideration for data. So if you were an L at some point, the data reflects you as an L, okay? Because I don't want to lose those L's to the native English speaking side, because I want to make sure that we can keep track of how they're progressing as they exit our program. I'm sorry, ELL, English Language Learner.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure, because I'm like L,
yes.
like the letter L, I'm not a, you know.
We love our acronyms, so English Language Learners. And LY, these are active students that are currently ELLs. These are exited, these are children that are exited, but they were just exited between 1 or 2 years. These are children that were L's, but are in their 3rd and 4th year of being exited. So we monitor them all the way through to make sure that once they exit the ESOL program, that they continue to be monitored and checked on and into 4 years moving forward. And LZ means that they're fully exited, they're in their 5th year, and they're doing well. Okay?
Do you have a question online, Dr. Sheffield?
Madam Chair, you do have a question, but also, Madam Chair, since we paused, I want to let you know that I did upload the PowerPoint to the calendar invite, so they do have access to it. And we did that because this slide here, it is formatted correctly within the PowerPoint. We know how technology goes. So they do have access to the slides. It's in the calendar invite.
Beautiful.
So I don't know if you want to take questions, but you have a couple of hands.
If you don't mind?
I don't mind at all. I do have time at the end, too, for Q&A, but we can take them as they come also.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a question at this time. I can't see who it is, so if y'all help me.
It's Laura.
Ms. Feldman, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions, and one preface is, forgive me for not remembering. I know with the changes for the fast testing, the progress monitoring, will the students in dual language programs, will they be able, let me break this down. So I don't remember when the science test is given. Is it given every year now with the fast tests?
You mean like the science FSA?
Yeah.
Science is still FSA?
Science is still FSA, so that's going to be given towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And is that, okay, so is that given at all grade levels or just 5th and 8th and 10th?
I think it's just
Fifth and eighth, and then there's EOCs in high school.
Right.
Okay, so we've got time with, well, certainly with this dual language program, but with schools being able to choose whether they teach science in English or whichever the dual language is, has that impacted how students are doing on the FSA science test?
And I appreciate your question. We have many schools, as I said earlier, that teach science in Spanish. And through the way that we teach science in Spanish, very hands-on, very manipulative, we also have part of our education is bridging activities, because I can solidify a concept in one language, Spanish, for example, and then all I need is to bridge that over to the English. The content is actually solidified in Spanish, and then it is transferred over to English. And our dual language schools that teach science solely in Spanish do really well on the English Science FSA.
Well, that's great. This way they learn the concept and then translate the language appropriately.
Exactly. And those are, and I'll get into it a little more further into the presentation about how that happens. But that was a great question.
And then the other question I have is, do middle and high school students get to select which topics they can learn in which language?
Well, our secondary schools actually have a wide variety, and you're also going to see that in the presentation a little later, a wide variety of offerings in Spanish, which I'm very happy to say, yes, they have choices to make, and they get to choose whether, it's going to be science, math, social studies. You'll see that further on in the presentation.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Beautiful. I'm going to continue. So on this page, you'll see the same slide the same graph that I had before, but I did want to show you the languages that are within our dual language programs. So you'll see that all of these children to the right are currently in our dual language programs. Of course, our major language is Spanish here in Palm Beach County, so 6,500 kids are Spanish speaking. But you'll see that we have children that speak Canjoal, Mam, Popki, Portuguese, Haitian Creole, and of course English inside our programs. Rolling Green has just started, so they just have about, I would say, 30, 32 kids in their program. So the rest of those children are Haitian Creole children inside our Spanish dual language programs, which also I have a video to share with you later on of how successful they are becoming trilingual. So feeder patterns, that link right there will take everyone to a document that shows how we are working with our schools to make sure that if you're going to start in an elementary dual language program, that you actually have a feeder middle school and a feeder high school to go to, so that you can continue on. And that is a work in progress. It is looking much better now, but there's still work to do to make sure that children can have a K-12 dual language experience. At the secondary levels, as you'll see moving forward, we don't want children to have to make a choice between an academy and a language. So we're working with our secondary schools to continue to include language in their medical magnets and in their tech magnets and things like that, so that I don't have to not be in an academy because I want to stay within a dual language framework. So that work is also happening, which is extremely, extremely important, because language kind of is an integral part of all and everything that we do every day. We need doctors, nurses, medical people who speak more than one language, as we need accountants and lawyers who do the same thing. So we are very conscious of that, and we're working with our secondary schools to be able to afford that to children here in Palm Beach County. So I'm going to share some of the FSA data, and this is from third grade, of course, FSA, all the way up to the end of middle school, I think I've got tonight. So this was last year's FSA for third grade, and these are children that score a level 3 or higher. The blue lines are dual language two-way immersion children. The mustard color is English only. So in the first two columns where it says all students, okay, these are all third grade students within these dual language schools at the bottom, okay? And the second two columns, you'll see English language learners. 33% of them made a 3% or higher versus ELLs in English only programs, okay? Because research says that if you allow me to continue to learn my language, I can add in English much better, because it's not a subtractive model where I stop thinking and learning in my language and I have to replace it with English. It actually allows me to continue to learn in my language and add English in, okay? And like I said before, the transfer strategies that we teach our dual language teachers to use really helps children start to maneuver back and forth between languages. The most astonishing thing that I think you're going to walk away with tonight are our fluent English speakers that wind up outscoring their English peers that are learning in English only all the time. So here you're looking at fluent English speakers in 3rd grade. 60% of them that are within our dual language programs learning 50% of the time in Spanish are outscoring English speakers in English only programs. Okay, and this is a phenomenon that doesn't happen just here in Palm Beach County. This is part of the research where children just do better inside dual language programs. And I'll be able
So one of the enlightening pieces of the summer training was when you talk about that transfer and the student who's learning a second language is cognitively they're learning the content. The translation is really just about how it's communicated out. But I'm thinking of, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but.
Well, I think what you're saying is that when children are learning content in a target language like Spanish, okay, they level the everyday words in Spanish for daily use are actually tier 2 and tier 3 words in English. Okay, so our native English speakers are acquiring this second language, and as they transfer it back to their first language, which is English, they're already at a higher level vocabulary-wise. So it's kind of like a mini SAT tutorial starting in kindergarten. I completely understand why this happens. Okay, so this is 4th grade, and as you can see, as you look at the lines, they continue to grow. Children, again, ELLs inside dual language programs are excelling with, of course, than Ls that are in English-only programs. But our native fluent English speakers continue to grow exponentially when it comes to level 3. This is 5th grade. 5th grade's kind of wonky, and I was trying to today understand what would have happened, but this is kind of fluky. But again, for our Ls, it was kind of fluky. For our native English speakers, again, they're growing even more as they continue through the program. And again, our Ls come into the program constantly. So if I arrive here, I'm a 5th grader, I go into a dual language program, and I may be coming from a country where my literacy is not quite where it needs to be. But this is this program is for them. And again, we also know that language takes time. So we continue to watch.
I think you have a question
go ahead.
online. If you can go back one slide, was it 20%, the 4th grade?
This is 4th grade.
So that's about 20% higher or
For fluent English speakers?
than fluent English speakers. Okay, I think I saw a question or heard a question. I can't see from that far. But
Question online?
Rachel?
Yeah. Yes.
Recognized.
Yeah, I had a question. They seem to be doing excellent, and I can, in my mind, someone that is going to succeed in this program who maybe is an English only speaker, or even if you're you're a dual language, do you think that these kids that stay in the program that can be able to handle both languages, has anyone seen, are their IQs higher, or if they have a learning disability, are they taken out as soon as they're struggling? Is that maybe an explanation? Because this is amazing results. So I'm curious if you think there's any other factors that are allowing, just because.
And I appreciate your observation. Dual language is an equal access program. So the research shows that it doesn't matter if you wind up with a disability or not. This is a program for you. We do not set criteria to get in, and we do not, what can I say? We do not reinforce children being taken out either. And every child is very individual. So we talk about Ls. Being that this is an ESOL model for them, we really, really like Els to stay in because, again, we're trying to do an additive process. And as you can see, our native English speakers do really well, and it does not become, and I understand what you're saying, but there isn't a you stay, you go kind of thing. And every child is very individual. I mean, I would imagine that there are children in schools that, if they are struggling, it's a sit down and let's discuss best options for that child, and if this is really the place for them. But as a department and as a program, it is an equal access program, and we encourage everybody to be in it and stay in it.
And if I can add to that too, just as we would tier the support and interventions for students when they're struggling, would be the same for a program like this. And what we're working to is increase or expand the number of interventions that match what the struggle is in the same. So if a student's struggling in the Spanish component, providing the right intervention in the native language or in the Spanish language.
Mm-hmm.
Same if they were struggling in English, but to maintain the
that's
program.
that sounds great. It's amazing, and I just hope the kids that are struggling are not, and as what you're saying is it's an individual basis. I hope they're just not pulled without getting the right support, but it sounds like they are. So thank you for the information.
And as Mr. Oswald said, we work very closely with the intervention department too, to make sure that the interventions being used in Spanish are also research-based, so that we get any child the intervention that they need in the right language.
Question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question in the room.
Thank you for taking my question. Just along the same vein as that last question, I'm curious whether when students become old enough to join the AMP program, if there's coordination between dual language and AMP, or if the two programs, sometimes conflict, especially for English language learners.
I don't know if you wanted to.
You can, no, go ahead.
Many of our schools offer AMP. The issue comes in, and many of the schools teach math in Spanish. Mm-hmm. So the issue comes in when we get to materials. So we need to make sure that we have the right materials in Spanish to teach AMP. And we would never not teach AMP in Spanish just because we don't have what we need. If we have to use, for that purpose, the English materials and speak and converse in Spanish around the content of math, that's what we do.
We have a question online. I can't see.
Somebody's blue, but I can't see.
Ms. Feldman, you're recognized.
Yes. So seeing, and I keeping in mind let me try this again. Are there elements of how the dual language students are taught that can be incorporated into the English only classes to help benefit them? If you're seeing the method of instruction and what is learned is so successful, the English language learners, are there lessons we can take from that would help our English only classes?
That's a wonderful question.
So I would say that it's more about the brain research around this. And, so being a principal implemented dual language many, many years ago. And Ms. Patterson's going to want to jump in here, I know. So Ms. Patterson, this is your expertise. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to jump in.
Go, jump in.
So I really appreciate the question. I think realistically, when a child, so let's think of language for just a minute as organized noise. Organized noise that brings meaning, that means something to each one of us, depending on the amount of languages that we all speak. So what happens with that is that it's not a matter necessarily that what happens in the Spanish room or the Haitian Creole, is better than what's happening in the English only. It's a matter that it all comes down to the fact that there are connectivities in that brain. The brain activity is a little bit higher. That's the bottom line, because that child that is immersed in those bilingual environments are having twice the amount of organized noise, if you may, right? So they have two deck of cards that they are trying to organize. And that by nature of what is happening, you're going to have a little bit more activity in that brain than not, if that makes any kind of sense. So it sounds like a bit challenging, but at the same time, realistically, our human brain is built to manage it. It just is. And especially at a very younger age, at the developmental stage that they they are developing their own dominant language. So their dominant language will be English in this case, for instance. Realistically, they don't have a full dominion of their language at that point. They're just dominating one. So when we present them with a second language, the students start naturally using those language acquisition skills that they have to acquire their first language. They just naturally start doing the second language with the same skills. So they actually don't even think about it.
Okay, and as another question, do we have the data as to the percentage of students that are within these dual language programs that have 504 plans and the percentage of students that have IEPs?
We could definitely get that data. I didn't bring it tonight, but we can definitely get those numbers for you.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I do see another hand raised. Ms. Sherelle, you're recognized.
Yes. So just piggybacking on what Laura's actual question was, is there anything that you can use or that we can use that will help the English speaking students like you saw with the dual speaking students? Is there anything we can take from what you guys are doing to implement with the English speaking students to help them get better?
I'm going to go from a former principal of elementary school, implement this at South Grade Elementary School. So when we started the programming, so it's not so much about the instructional practices as it is about how the brain functions learning the second language. So going into my Spanish speaking classrooms, just as the English speaking, the teachers were instructing, right? But it wasn't some type of specific pedagogical practice that is significantly different as it is the way the students are cognitively processing a second language, and the research behind that, and there's plenty of research around that, around how the brain is developing differently. So I think the best thing is that we encourage more monolingual English speakers to go into these programs to expand more. And that, I think, is really the best avenue. There's not really a specific pedagogical practice that's significantly different in these classrooms, at least from my experience. And I don't know if Ms. Patterson, if you have a different experience. But
Thumbs up. She gave you a thumbs up.
yeah, so
I think there was
so
one more question.
I don't know if that answers your question, Coleman.
Thank you.
We're going to take one more question. Laura, look like you have one more follow-up, and we're going to go ahead and move on with the presentation.
Okay, so if a student, for example, were to study, an elementary school student were to study in an English-only program, but learn Spanish for whether it's half an hour a day or an hour a day, or if that's cycled in through those special classes of art, music, and etc. Are similar benefits found?
Well, I really...
Or is it only with this more intensive program?
And I really think it lends itself to the type of 50-50 two-way immersion program. The research behind it is that they are, and as you saw in the Haitian Creole video too, they have a productive struggle. And they need that productive struggle to help make those connections in the brain. and be able to rely on their first language to understand the second language. And all of those strategies are used within the dual language program. And as I had mentioned before, it's not a world language that is on a fine arts wheel. It is science or math and reading and writing in another language, which is very different than acquiring a language for 30 minutes once a week or 30 minutes a day. This is, as I said, they spend half of their day, instructional day, in that second language, whether their second language is English or Spanish. And I really do think, and I'd be more than happy to come back at another time and show you some brain research behind why this happens. But it is from language learning. It's truly based on the research behind learning more than one language, learning in more than one language.
I would just add there are benefits of different models as well. I know when I was in New York City, we had many different models, 90-10, 80-20, 70-30. So where students still benefited. For us, this model has been very effective and able to align the resources to support it as a system.
Exactly. So I think the last FSA slide I have is the middle school. And again, you have to remember that we funnel into the middle school. We have 23 elementaries, 5 middle schools, 1 K-8, so you'll see those schools at the bottom. But again, based on research, these are the years that the second language really starts to kick in, okay? Because language, again, takes time to acquire. So this is where we see that switch where children are really moving into that bilingualism and biliteracy and utilizing it. I also brought you, and as I had mentioned before, we must assess in 2 languages. So we also give our dual language students what we call the Espanol Exam, which is given once a year, and it is given from 2nd grade to 10th grade, and it's given to all dual language schools, students in those grades that are participating in our program. And what this does, it shows you the academic acquisition of Spanish in all 4 domains: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And as you see in the 2nd grade, they are speaking heavy, and reading and writing is just coming into the graph. But I'm going to move through these quickly just so that you can see, kind of like a cartoon that you watch really quickly as the columns start to balance each other out. As children continue to move through the grade levels, that's 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. And here is where we prove that children, all children, Spanish-speaking children, English-speaking children, Haitian, Creole-speaking children, everyone participating inside our dual language programs at these grade levels, all the way through our program, become fully bilingual and biliterate at the end of their dual language careers here in Palm Beach County. So we can definitely prove that in Spanish, that with this data, and as we continue to follow the new PM implementation and everything, we'll continue to collect data on our students as they move through our programs. And I wanted to use the last part of our time to share with you a little bit about the curriculum. So 2 years ago, Florida went to the best standards. Before the best standards, we had the LAFs, and it was easy to correlate the LAFs to the Common Core and then to the Common Core in Espanol. And that's how we were making sure that children were meeting the standards. But 2 years ago, Florida moved to the creation of the best standards, and when we started looking at the best standards for English, we realized that they did not correlate whatsoever to the Common Core in Espanol that we had been using. So part of the guiding principles tells us that we have to have curriculum that is standards-based, and it must work towards the 3 pillars in dual language, and that it must promote and maintain both languages, the status of both languages equally. So we started our quest here in Palm Beach County. I'm proud to say that the department started working on the best standards in Spanish for us in Palm Beach County. So we started out 2 years ago working on authenticating and not just linguistically augmenting standards to the Spanish language or the Haitian Creole language, but also making sure that we had the right standards in the right place by grade level. Once we had a core understanding of the Spanish standards that were going to be the new best Spanish standards. We then took them to other dual language counties and districts in the state of Florida and shared them with them. And we met monthly for a year and a half with all of these districts that had a piece of building those Spanish best standards. And I'll show you the difference. So on the left-hand side, you'll see what is all in black are the best Florida standards. This one happens to be kindergarten. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the magenta standards. So anything that is in black is a direct translation. It's not language bound. So demonstrating knowledge by most frequent sounds for each consonant. I'm sorry, I can't read that far. It's the same thing in Spanish. But where you get to B in English is demonstrate knowledge of short and long vowel sounds. Short and long vowel sounds do not exist in Spanish. So that standard is now a magenta standard in Spanish, because in Spanish you have to teach strong vowels and weak vowels. Okay? So anything that is in magenta, and we went through every standard for kindergarten to 5th grade, and we linguistically augmented and transadapted for the language, the target language. So this is Spanish, and this is just a very small cross-section. All of our teachers and all of our materials that are available in our portal for our dual language schools, this is there for them to see. This is there for us to talk and train teachers on. And you'll notice that in Spanish we have an extra standards, because in Spanish, just like in Haitian Creole, as I'll show you, they have acentuación. They have accentuation, which does not exist in English. So that's part of the linguistic augmentation that has to be taught in Spanish. This is 2nd grade. These are all the foundational skills, and most of the magenta standards you'll see in the foundational standards that need to be taught. So this is 4th and 5th grade. So all the way through, from kindergarten to 5th grade, we went and made sure that the standards were the Spanish standards were going to be as rigorous as the English standards. These happen to be the Haitian Creole kindergarten standards, that we also did the same work for that. And you'll see here that the magenta standards are things that exist in Haitian Creole that do not exist in English, and that need to be explicitly taught, just like accents. So this is just a small cross-section of the standards that we have been working on. We've already pretty much solidified 1st grade, and we're working towards 2nd grade as we move through. So in our core reading materials, we adopted advanced kindergarten through 5th grade. We also adopted adelante. So this is, we worked very closely with the Committee for the Reading Adoption for the publishers that were submitting to the reading adoption. And Palm Beach County, I applaud the fact that in Palm Beach County it was a non-negotiable that if there was not an authentic Spanish counterpart that came to the adoption, that they were like, thank you very much, but don't come. So it was wonderful to work with publishers who were eager to make sure that we had the best standards and the best Spanish standards in their materials, and also work with us to create things that help dual language English and Spanish teachers understand how to work together. So this is a biliteracy planner that is part of the materials that our teachers use. And besides giving you what the English teacher does and the Spanish teacher does, on the sides where the colors are, the green and the orange, it also tells you what is transferable and what is non-transferable. So letters are transferable, okay, recognizing letters. But actual syllable blending looks different in both languages, so that's in the orange. So teachers have an aha moment that they have to go back to the standards and make sure that they're explicitly teaching and linguistically augmenting to reach the standards that are in each language. We also did this for Haitian Creole. Haitian Creole Language Arts also has its own platform that mirrors the benchmark materials and also works by units and kind of maneuvers the same way that the benchmark Adelante and Advanced does. And teachers are able to go into their modules and follow through, and these are just quick snapshots of the reading, the vocabulary, the writing pieces that are needed to meet the Haitian Creole standards in kindergarten. And that will continue on as the programs continue to grow. So this is a wonderful thing that we've worked really hard on making sure that the rigor is there and that we're meeting the standards, both the ELA standards and the Spanish or Haitian Creole standards. This is STEM scopes. So for our our science materials, those schools that are teaching science in Spanish have access through our portal and with the materials in their classrooms to all kinds of Spanish materials that meet the needs of instructing with rigor in all grade levels in Spanish, if you're teaching science in Spanish. Also with our math resources with Savas have Spanish translations. Math is more trans-adaptable because the math standards are the math standards. Okay, and this is Haitian Creole. Our Rolling Green Haitian Creole program, their entire math book was translated, trans-adapted into Haitian Creole, and their math books look just like the English math books, except they're in Haitian Creole. So the Rolling Green has chosen to teach math in Haitian Creole besides reading and writing. So it is a wonderful thing that children have access to those materials.
And just to understand, so we look like all throughout the country to see, as well as outside the country, I should say, for materials that were authentic to the Creole language. And reality is they just don't exist. So this was literally we're creating by hand with a local actual translator who's really helping us out to take this project on. So it's a lot of work, but extremely excited about finally having something like that. When we looked at other programs, one up in Boston, even in Miami, a lot of, kind of reminds me, decades ago when we were doing Spanish, there's a lot of pulling different pieces from, but nothing that was really authentically a core program. So it's a lot of work and hours behind. So just kudos to the team, because there's a lot of hours of blood, sweat, and tears to make this happen.
It is very true.
See, it's not Google Translate. Actually reading Haitian.
So at our secondary levels, I wanted to bring you, because we do want to make sure that our children are able to go from kindergarten to 12th grade. So I know that this is really hard to see, but you can individually go into the presentation and look at it a little closer. Our secondary schools have many offerings. And I think this refers back to one of the questions that was asked earlier of what is available at the secondary schools. So this document is going to show you the secondary schools, the dual language schools, and the offerings at each school. And it also shows you, this last slide, shows you the rigorous level of Spanish offerings, because right now at our secondary schools, they're only Spanish dual language programs, because we're just starting to grow our Haitian Creole. So, so all of these offerings are Spanish courses, and you'll see that our children wind up, John I. Leonard has incorporated their entire dual language program, goes right through their ACE diploma program. So children are able to come out with an ACE diploma and not sacrifice language because of it. So they're able to take 3 classes in Spanish, 3 classes in English, and still acquire that ACE diploma. Lake Worth High School just opened their doors this year to their program, their dual language program. They have over 200 students in 9th and 10th grade that they have offered their medical magnet to, their tech magnet, besides Spanish courses. So children are really reaping the benefits of remaining bilingual and also reaping the benefits of ACE diplomas and staying in academies that they want. So I'm going to leave you with this video. This is the reason why, this is just one reason why we are always so passionate about our dual language programs, because this is what comes of it. Let's see if we can get this to roll. Oh, hold on.
While we're working on that, is there, I'll ask this question, are there any dual language programs? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. This is an advertisement, I think.
Are there any dual language programs in the South End?
Yes,
so
we
your
have.
Delray, Boca area, and will, because when I look at the previous slide where it showed where the ACE programs, are there any, how does that impact those students in that?
So we have Plamosa, we have Hagen Road, down in the south that are elementary. Those schools, and when I showed you the feeder patterns, we're working on those continuums. Okay, so we've perfected some and some we're still working on. But what we are doing, and a lot of conversations that we're having with the secondary schools that don't have exact feeder patterns to dual language, is we're having conversations with those middle schools and those high schools to at least offer rigorous language classes You know, if you're coming out of Plamosa or you're coming out of Hagen Road and you're going to your feeder middle school, if it's not a dual language middle school, at least offer a language at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level at a level of rigor that the children you are receiving have. So we are in those conversations with those schools so that children don't lose the language that they've gained, right? To the
Yeah,
5th grade.
and I would add, you know, language development in itself outside of dual language programs has been a priority. So for example, you'll see in Boca an Italian program that ranges from, I think, is it Loggers or Eagles?
I think it's Loggers.
Loggers through West Boca High. So offering, you know, the Italian, and we're looking at, you know, other programs as well like that to expand.
Anything east? Spanish River, Boca High.
So all of them will have a pretty robust language program, not necessarily dual language.
And many of our dual language schools, even in the central area, have a certain amount of children, because to be considered dual language, you have to have 3 courses. But those schools offer many options for kids to take a course or 2 in a native language also. So that's beautiful. So I leave you with our trilingual 10-year-old.
Parents, encourage your kids to learn different languages. Padres, motiven sus niños para aprender diferentes lenguajes. Para encourager petitu apprendre différentes langues.
10 years old, and Stanley Michel already speaks 3 languages. He also knows that's a valuable skill.
What I've heard from my mom was that knowing multiple languages could help you get a job.
He's very goal-driven. He's got goals for this year, he's got goals for next year, he's got career goals already. And in a young 5th grader like that, it's just amazing.
So how is it Stanley already knows 3 languages? Well, you could say he comes by it naturally.
I was born here in Florida, West Palm Beach, Florida, and I grew up in a Haitian and English house.
Then, when he started at Forest Hill Elementary, Stanley was enrolled in the dual language program, which introduced him to Spanish.
In the beginning, it was hard because I don't speak Spanish myself. When he come home, he would ask me for help with his homework. I don't speak Spanish, so I had to download the Google Translate app on my phone and let him use it to help him with his work.
Stanley benefits greatly by speaking 3 languages. There's a lot of brain research out there that shows that the mind of a child that learns more than 1 language at a time is highly beneficial. And it's kind of evident in Stanley. He's a dynamic student involved in a lot of things on campus.
What does the future hold for this young linguist? Stanley aspires to be a businessman, but says his dad wants him to be in the medical field. As for his mom,
oh, I'm very proud of Stanley, very proud.
It's no wonder why. Kate Wentley for the Education Network, keeping you informed.
It's amazing.
I'm Dr. Jeff Vineker, and today we'll explore the science behind chemical versus physical changes.
Yeah, he's a 9th grader.
Oh, Stanley is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, he's a 9th grader. But this is the reason why. Right. This is the reason why we do what we do. We truly believe in how language is so beneficial for our students. And that's why I was excited to bring all of this information to you today. If there are any other questions, I think that is the last slide. It is. Please.
I'm a product of dual language, so in this district, so I'll let you know that it does work. I do speak 3 languages, and it was because of this district. I was at home, I spoke French and English, and when I came into the district taking Haitian Creole. And my mom spoke Haitian Creole, but I didn't until I got into, fluently until I got into high school, so.
Beautiful.
Just adding to that, I want to really applaud the efforts of the district in creating this new dual language program. It's very impressive. I can only imagine how much work went into it. I will tell you, I'm the daughter of a Haitian immigrant who was not taught the language because it was really not accessible for my family so many years ago. And I see it as something that is hugely affirming and inspiring and has legs that will have such an impact for the community, the Haitian community here, as well as back in Haiti, as these children grow and are successful and can really lead in their native language. So congratulations. I applaud you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
speaking from two Haitians.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments online for our presenter? I'm sorry.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you. This is fantastic to hear about. It's very exciting.
Okay. She said you're very welcome if you didn't hear her. And just to, as we wrap up, I like to have my notes ready for the school board report since it's right around the corner. So I would like to send this to staff as well so that they can see this report before it goes out. I wanted to capture really quickly the comments that, or I'm sorry, the follow-ups that are being requested by the committee. I heard about 2 comments, but I did not capture exactly what you're asking these presenters to come back with. I think, Ms. Feldman, you were one.
What I was hoping to find out the percentage of students in the dual language program that is that have 504 plans and the percentage that has IEPs, that have IEPs, in comparison with, to be able to compare that to the percentages within the English-only programs.
If I captured that correctly, you would like the committee, I'm sorry, you would like the percentage of students in a dual language program that has IEPs and 504 plan to compare it to
English only.
the English language program.
Yeah, the English-only program. So
English-only program.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Were there any other follow-ups or data that was requested? Hearing none, that's the only follow-up data. And just so I get your office correctly, is it the Office of Dual?
Multicultural.
Office of
Department of Multicultural Education.
I'll get it from you later. See, we had so many languages going around. I'm tongue twisted. Thank you so much for that presentation, Ms. Patterson online, Mr. Oswald, Ms. Capra. Thank you very much for this presentation. Very valuable information. We look forward to the information that will come back to us, and that can certainly come through staff in an email to the committee, as well as the presentation was already submitted as previously stated through the calendar invite. We'll make sure you get a copy of that. And at this time, we're at the area of our agenda where we're at Q&A, as we have a we have an end time at 7:15. Any questions or answers at this time for staff or the body that relates to this body?
Quick question. In the minutes, there was a bullet point about follow-up about teacher retention or teacher shortages in Title I schools versus non-Title I schools.
That's not it was not a follow-up. That's actually that's part of the discussion as it pertains agenda topics that we would want to discuss.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, that leaves me to, as we're coming up to an end time, is to talk about our agenda for the next meeting. This particular item today around the status quo around our dual language programs and the progress that we're making as a district was one of the items that came from our last meeting. And I think that was put on by Dr. Diaz. Hate that he missed it. Team did an amazing job. So on looking at the agenda for next month, my question was going to be, I'm looking at the items around the impact of teacher shortages in Title I non-Title schools. But I'm at the will of the board, of the committee. What would you like our big bucket to be for our next month's meeting?
And with respect to the unfinished business of, I have no opposition to that, but with the respect to the second item, feedback from the board on library media workshop, that also could be a email, or because we can actually look at that, if I may ask, because it says September unfinished business update, if there is no objection, that I ask the committee to review the board meeting, the past board meeting, to seek any updates from that area so that we can we can go ahead and go to the next agenda topic, and then if there are any follow-up questions based on that workshop, it can be presented at a following meeting.
So, Madam Chair, for clarification, for the October meeting, then we would do a follow-up as old business to give an update on the library media workshop, where I'll bring back Attorney Harris and the library media manager, because we're getting ready now for development. So we probably will be able to update more with that.
If there is no objection from the committee.
Okay. And then the new business then will be around that, the impact of teacher shortages.
It's at the will of the committee. Are there any objections to either of those suggestions on the floor? If there is not, if I can please have a motion.
I move that next month's agenda focus on the follow-up on the, or as stated by Dr. Sheffield.
Okay, so as stated by Ms. Sheffield, the next October meeting will be the impact of teacher shortages on Title I schools versus non-Title I schools, and as well as the feedback.
The old business will be the feedback on the library media.
Absolutely. I hear a motion is on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I'll second it. I do have a question. Can we clarify that as well? So not just teacher shortages and its impact on Title I schools, but can we also take a look at teacher shortages and its impact on advanced coursework, whether it's honors, AP, ACE classes, etc.?
I think it's going to be a meaty work just doing Title I schools versus non-Title I schools. I will say, if you would like the accelerated coursework, there is another committee that is currently working on that, the Superintendent Advisory Committee of Black Student Excellence. That is something that is ongoing. I know because I sit on that subcommittee. I will be glad through staff to share that information with you, because that work is currently going on with a deep dive on that subject matter. And at some point, I do believe that that's going to be presented here at the AAC committee and some other committees, as well as the Superintendent Advisory Boundary Committee. And I believe our next meeting for that is October 15th, that is currently on the calendar. Or, I'm sorry, October 10th.
October 10th.
I appreciate that, but just we're taking a look at shortages at Title I schools. I also want to take a look at how those shortages are impacting what courses are offered at those schools. That's what I'm getting towards.
We will start, I think, Madam Chair, if I may, because of the amount of time that it's going to take in terms of pulling that data and staff, we are indeed, I'm trying to utilize the HR staff time in clearing teachers, right? Because we are definitely working through trying to just clear the pipeline to get as many teachers that may still be in the pipeline hired. So I think if we start with the non-title versus title, that will give us a strong indicator. And the next part to that is also on the 21st, I think it is. I myself, along with Mr. Turney, we will be doing our fall instructional review for the board. It is a board workshop. And with that, it may present some data that Ms. Feldman may want to, that she's probably interested in. And then I will bring back some of those data slides as part of my CAO update.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. For the October meeting.
So I think we have between next week and all the way to our October meeting, we'll pretty much cover some of the areas that Ms. Feldman is asking for. And if not, we can certainly send that information to staff, and they perhaps could include it somehow in their presentation. Yes. Are there any further discussions with the motion that's on the floor? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you all for a great meeting. It is actually 7:15 on the dot. I thank you all for coming on. Our next meeting is scheduled for October. I had it pulled up, and then someone had to call me. October 10th, second.
Madam Chair, while Diane is pulling that date for you, if I could have point of privilege, is just because Keith is here with us. I just want to also let the committee know that Mr. Oswald and myself, we have been given the extent pleasure of having a proposal approved to where we will be presenting at the Council of Great City Schools. That's going to be held there in Orlando. I think it's the third week of October the 19th through the 23rd of some sort. But we're just excited. Mr. Oswald and myself will be presenting there. And also our ESE team, Mr. McCormick and Kevin McCormick, our ESE director, also had a proposal accepted to present there to talk about the work that we're doing with our ESE students in moving the mark.
Congratulations. And to confirm that is October. Yes. I hear someone else
That's awesome.
congratulating. Congrats. So October 10th is the next meeting. Mark your calendars, and we will see you in the room or online on October 10th. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much. Congratulations.
Good night.
Good night.
Congratulations
Good
again.
night.
Thanks for having me.